previously on F1.
The season is underway. Vettel leads the World Championship. Front wing damage.
Whoa!
Sebastian Vettel wins again.
Terrible mistake there.
Lewis Hamilton wins brilliantly.
The big joy is not there.
Vettel takes the victory.
That's what I'm talking about.
Round 5, Spain.
For thousands of years across the Mediterranean, men have tried to tame the bull. In ancient times, men lived in fear of a behemoth, part man, part bull, the Minotaur. So men would prove their bravery by leaping a charging bull. In Spain, the toreador became the superstar, the maestro. A man who could tease and dance with a bull, and then destroy it. That was then. Here in Catalonia, bullfighting is now outlawed. In the long, hot Spanish afternoon, the bull now rules. Men once again fear a behemoth, and he is real. With the drive and ambition of a man, and the strength and power of a bull.
And how much would they love to see Fernando Alonso greeting that checkered flag first here this afternoon? Well, so far this year, the teams may have failed to tame the bull, but despite this being an unpredictable Formula One season, one thing is absolutely certain. We are nowhere near crowning the Formula One World Champion for this year. Welcome to race 5 of the 2011 Formula One season, the Spanish Grand Prix from the Circuit de Catalunya with David Coulthard and Eddie Jordan. And guys, we just saw there just some small snippets of the dominance that Red Bull are enjoying at the moment. But the one thing that does do is motivate every team around them.
Well, there's nothing like out-and-out competition to drive everyone forward, but particularly Red Bull have taken an unprecedented situation. They were actually so dominant that it's probably frightening some of the other teams. They're so good.
Yeah, it's always part of Formula One. You have to develop your car week in, week out. So it just so happens at the moment you have Red Bull at the head of that particular field. But in any other given season, whether it was Ferrari, whether it was McLaren, Renault, whoever it was, they were always in the same situation. Every week they're looking for that edge.
And I just mentioned that this is only race 5 of the season, and if we have a look at the calendar at the moment, we can see plenty more air miles, plenty more stamps on our passports to come. The season's due to end at the end of November, or perhaps even the first weekend of December if they find somewhere to put the Bahrain race. And it looks like a long season, David, but you'll know from experience it disappears very, very quickly.
Well, it's relentless. You know, we'll go from here this weekend, we'll be in Monaco next week. You know, what can you do in those 3 days, the turnaround that you have between completing this Grand Prix? These guys will be working on the cars tonight, preparing them to leave to go to Monaco next week, so you've got very small amounts of time between these races.
Sure, well, Monaco, Singapore, Delhi, they all wait their turn today. It's Spain's Sunday in the spotlights. Barcelona is famous for its architecture and sporting excellence. So how apt then that today it plays host to some of the most beautifully designed cars in the world, and also that the home of arguably the world's greatest football team this afternoon is home to the world's greatest drivers. Of course, it's also home to Fernando Alonso, and the chase is on for Sebastian Vettel. You can see there Fernando sitting 5th at the moment with 41 points on the board. How much would he love to start reeling in Sebastian with 25 points for a win today? And it's looking very, very nice indeed for Red Bull at the front of the Constructors' Championship, and this is the one that all the teams want. It's got the kudos, it's got the money, and Red Bull are desperate to defend that title. So as far as the championship battle's concerned, everybody is chasing Sebastian Vettel, and every Saturday so far they've been left in the wake of Sebastian Vettel. 4 races, 4 pole positions, but as we all know, history in Formula One counts for absolutely nothing. Here's Ted Kravitz.
When you come to the Grand Prix in Spain, you know you're in Alonso country. Even so, it was Nick Heidfeld who caught the attention with this impressive fire before qualifying.
Fire.
Okay, Nick, understood. Go quickly, go quickly.
A helpful suggestion saved Nick from any harm, but his car wasn't so lucky. It seemed everyone wanted to know if his car would be fixed in time. It wasn't. Heidfeld starts today's race from the back.
I think we can easily repair it for tomorrow, so I still hope for a good race.
Force India's Adrian Sutil and Paul di Resta sacrificed their qualifying by not running the faster soft tyres. This way they saved them for the race, so should perform well today. But that let Heikki Kovalainen in to record Team Lotus' best qualifying of the year.
It's the attitude of the team, we go for it rather than playing safe.
I think given we've got a new set of options, the cars, we should be able to hopefully get them off the line, and then from there on we're thinking more about the last remaining points.
There was a career best from Pastor Maldonado, who's 9th in the Williams, ahead of Michael Schumacher, who's in a better mood here than at recent races. Towards the front, McLaren and Ferrari are very evenly matched here. Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso and Jenson Button all qualified within 0.03 of a second of each other to be 3rd, 4th and 5th on the grid, even though 4th meant rather a lot to Fernando Alonso.
I think that today we did the maximum that we could in this condition.
It's so close, 300ths from being 3rd and I'm 5th. But I suppose the positive is from it that I'm on the clean side of the grid. It makes quite a big difference here.
Pace-wise, we are not as quick as the Red Bulls, clearly in qualifying, but also race pace. Usually we're quite close to them in the race, but I think they look like they've maybe made a step forward, or maybe just as track suits their car a little bit better than ours. But nonetheless, we'll push as hard as we can.
The only question remaining was which Red Bull driver would be on pole. Sebastian Vettel's KERS power boost failed, so he effectively had a 0.3 of a second handicap to his teammate over the single lap, and Mark Webber duly took advantage. Pole position for the Australian by just 0.2, breaking Vettel's recent domination of qualifying.
If your KERS had been working, do you think you could have got onto pole?
I don't know. Surely you can make out how much is the benefit using KERS and not using KERS, but I don't like generally to put up things like this. Mark did a good job, so he deserved pole today.
I think it'll be a slightly different Spanish Grand Prix that we've seen in the past. As you say, a bit more entertainment on the front straight, maybe even some other parts of the track when other people are in tyre trouble. So yes, the run to the first corner is crucial, but it's not everything.
So Mark Webber on pole and going for a win to kickstart his championship. Sebastian Vettel right beside. Lewis Hamilton plans to attack the Red Bulls off the start line. Jenson Button's on the clean side of the track, which will help his start, ahead of Vitaly Petrov and Nico Rosberg, an impressive 6th and 7th. Then it's Felipe Massa, Pastor Maldonado and Michael Schumacher. Toro Rossos and Saubers pack the midfield. Scotland's Paul di Resta is 16th in the Force India. 19th for Rubens Barrichello, whose gearbox failed during qualifying, while at the back, Glock, Liuzzi, Kartikeyan and D'Ambrosio are joined by Nick Heidfeld.
Well, congratulations, Mark Webber. Just less than 45 minutes now until the start of today's race. And for the first time since Spa in 2010, this car will be on pole position, Mark Webber's car. And his timing is absolutely immaculate because the last 10 races here have been won by the car from pole. So he's absolutely nailed it as far as the first part of the day is concerned. The big question is, how will he do in the race a little bit later? We'll talk about that after we hear from Mark Webber, because he'll be speaking to Lee in just a moment. But let's just talk about qualifying. We are seeing such different racing this season. Actually, qualifying is totally different as well. How do you guys assess it?
Well, traditionally the focus was always on qualifying because the grave difficulty in passing in the race. That's now changed. So the emphasis has changed, likewise, to the race. So people are now preparing for a race situation because they can pass because of KERS and because of the DRS.
Well, I think that, the race was always the main focus because that's where the points come. But I think that qualifying was more exciting potentially in the past because they went right down to the wire because there wasn't quite the same need to save tyres. You know, ideally you'd always want a new set of tyres. It doesn't matter if it's 2011 or whether it was, 91. New tyres are new tyres. They'll always give you performance. But the drop-off in the tyres is the big issue this year. It's not their first lap performance. It's where they are after lap 10, where they are after lap 15, which is making qualifying more compromised.
Let's just step away from the garage quickly. You can probably hear the engines are roaring up, and if we walk out here, it's not an awful lot quieter because the Spanish PA is whipping the home crowd into a frenzy. They're ready for Fernando Alonso to do the business today. We'll find out how he's feeling very shortly. But first, Mark Webber, congratulations to him for picking up pole, and Lee McKenzie's with him now.
Mark, lots of fans here wishing you luck. This is the first pole position you've had since Spa last year. Is it nice to be having a clear view at the front today?
Yeah, it certainly doesn't hurt. Hopefully we get away nice and well and have a good clean first part of the Grand Prix. And it just helps to have clear air. Hopefully that's the big benefit of getting away cleanly from off pole.
Well, pole positions won the last 10 Grand Prix. Of course, it was you last year, but it's a very different Formula One. Strategy counts for so much. What can you do as a driver to ensure you can win this race?
Well, tyres will be the biggest role again today. I mean, there's going to be certain parts where someone might be in a little bit of trouble with their tyres, and hopefully you either benefit from that or you're not going to get hurt too much if it's you. So that's the main thing, is to be able to get the balance right between pace and preservation. But they're incredibly sensitive, and sometimes they don't like to be raced on. You've got to really preserve them as best you can. So that's the balancing act we've got today, is in the cockpit around a fast venue like Barcelona.
It's a big battle into turn one. It's a long run in there. Sebastian and you alongside each other, Lewis charging hard. It's important to get out of that cleanly, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, obviously some good guys at the front. Ready to take them on, and we'll see how we go.
Great, thank you.
Cheers, no problem.
So he's ready to take the fight to his rivals, but there's always time for an autograph with Formula One for Mark Webber. He's certainly one of the good guys. David, just give us an insight into psychologically how important this pole position is for Mark.
It's a massive boost and very timely, because everyone was already starting to talk about Sebastian Vettel just dominating qualifying and obviously taking the lion's share of victories. It's been some time since Mark had a win, and he knows, as you mentioned previously, the last 10 winners have won from pole here on this circuit, so he's in pretty good shape for this afternoon.
And to add to the good news for Mark Webber, not that he'd ever want something bad to happen to his teammate, of course, is that Sebastian has had KERS issues so far this weekend. We saw in Malaysia, Mark started second without KERS and was sixth going into the first corner, so they'll be working very hard behind us to make sure that Sebastian's got KERS on that car to give him a great boost at the start.
Well, if ever you needed KERS to work, you need it here. Absolutely. Longest pit straight in current Formula One. Therefore, you need the KERS to get you up to that front. You don't want to get swallowed up, because we don't know yet how good Vettel is in company. We don't know how he's able to fight his way out of the pack. That's the only glimmer of hope that the other drivers have, that he may not be quite as good yet as he is in his normal racing.
Well, one thing we do know is that Lewis Hamilton is a real fighter in the pack and a great racer, and he's already laid down his marker from qualifying yesterday. He said, right, I'm going to be either in front of Sebastian Vettel into the first corner, or I'm going to be leading this Grand Prix. So he starts just behind Mark Webber on the clean side of the track. Got good start system, good use of KERS, and they've got a little bit of a speed advantage in straight line over the Red Bulls as well.
Sure, so Lewis Hamilton looking for a good start, but of course, so is Mark Webber from pole position. Meanwhile, 9 places behind Mark Webber, Michael Schumacher, the most successful driver ever at this circuit with 6 wins. Well, he had his worst ever qualifying here yesterday. He starts 10th on the grid, and despite his current toils on the track and telling us he had no big joy in Formula One in Turkey a couple of weeks ago, he now says he's perfectly happy where he is.
And they've touched. Barrichello nailed him this time.
You can't hold back the clock.
Mass has gone straight up the inside. Schumacher won't give him the space, but has to in the end.
It is a fact of any sportsman's career that he will have to stop at a certain point.
Schumacher in the wars again.
No, the big joy is not there right now, except some action. That's about it.
Who would have thought that, coming from a little chat that you had with me a couple of Sundays ago, that all these headlines would have been made? This comment, no big joy, seems to have taken over the world. Were you talking about Turkey, or were you talking more generally? You can clarify it for us.
Yeah, I was surprised how famous I made you, or us, and I guess you understood it completely right, but as media likes only to take out certain phrases. Yes, definitely was meant to be the part that I could have been 5th or 6th with the car that we had, and I only went 12th. So that's naturally disappointing. And that was the bit that I didn't enjoy. I have made probably a lot of media quite happy with my return. And I seem still to make some media very happy with if I do a race like in Istanbul.
But are you making yourself happy?
Yeah, that's what I'm coming to. What I am taking out of all this one is I want to be where I am.
So you are experiencing joy in that case? You are still enjoying your races, even though they've not gone as you'd want them this season?
Yeah, because I see the big picture. I don't only see the small bit that we had maybe in Turkey. Take a stock market. I mean, if you take a good stock and if you look at this performance, it never went all the way up in a straight line. There will always be dips. And that's what we're having too. And I had a little dip in Turkey, so I'm not concerned about that. The reality is we're developing with the car, we're getting closer to where we want to be, and I'm pretty sure sooner or later we'll be on the podium.
The car does seem to be progressing well, which is something. Why do you think that Nico has an edge with it at the moment?
I don't think he has.
You don't think he has?
No.
Nico Rosberg goes 3rd. Michael Schumacher responds, but it's only 8th. What disappointment. Rosberg still the main man at Mercedes-Benz.
In qualifying, though, he's qualified a 3rd and a 4th, whereas you haven't. What do you put that down to?
As I said to you just before, I mean, I think it was only Turkey that the car is working in normal style. The first 3 qualifying, we had other issues that didn't really allow to show up what could have been possible. So no, I'm not concerned, you know, I'm pretty relaxed.
Do you think that you're as good a driver now as you were when you were at Ferrari?
I'm pretty sure I explore my absolute max potential. Maybe even better, because in a way, may I have more experience, but then am I as good as I was with 25? I don't think so. I cannot be as good, but I can maybe be better in other areas. And is the compromise as good as what I used to be? Who knows? We'll find out. I see all the details and I see why and where we are, and that's much more important. And with time, things will come. So in the meantime, my critics may go up or down a little bit, but I'm too long around to get over concerned with all this.
Well, I always think it's very interesting when a driver keeps his sunglasses on during an interview. No sunglasses for Michael Schumacher at the moment, despite the fact that the sun's blazing down here in Spain. And there he is, just gearing himself up for a race where he knows how to win at the Circuit de Catalunya. Let's just have a quick word then with David and Eddie about that interview. The most remarkable thing, I think, for me, Eddie, was the flat denial that Nico Rosberg is driving better.
Well, I need to find out from Michael. I think he needs to sit down with a group of his best confidants and find out why is he saying such a thing, because he doesn't seem to have a proper grip on this. Clearly, Rosberg is outperforming in almost every aspect, qualifying, testing. He's happy with him, certainly in the results. And Michael has just said on that clip there that that's not the case. Well, I'm sorry, I see it in a different way, and I think Michael first has to come to terms with the fact that Rosberg is quicker if he's going to start going forward from here.
OK, just over a minute or so till Michael makes his way out to the grid. The other thing that he said in an interview, which I thought was also astonishing, was, I'm not as good as I was maybe when I was 25. That's quite an admission, actually.
Well, it is, and I think we have to thank Michael for his openness in that. And I think that maybe we can liken it to like maybe a football player, or, a striker who loses that little bit of pace, but he's still got the skill, he's still got the touch to actually deliver the ball into the back of the net, but he needs the team to feed him a lot more than being able to pick up the ball and run. So, what I think is a much longer answer in that what is it that makes a Grand Prix driver quick? It's got to be brain power. And I'm not saying academically, but it's got to be the brain that controls those decisions more than being a physical sport. This isn't just, the just explosion of muscle off the line in a 100-meter sprint. They need to be able to sort of make good decisions. So what is it that he thinks is making him not as quick?
OK, well,
surely, David, it has to be raw speed and raw talent. That's the primary objective, and that's the one thing that you circle everything around.
OK, we'll wait and see what happens today. He's certainly still wily, going out yesterday in qualifying and making other cars around him do an extra lap. That was very clever of Michael Schumacher. Right, the pit lane is open. Less than half an hour to go until the Spanish Grand Prix. Jenson Button is gearing up to do something very special indeed if he can, from 5th on the grid. He's another Formula World champion looking for a win in F1. Well, Jenson, here we go then, at the start of another Grand Prix weekend. What's it been like for you guys inside the cockpit?
Confusing. There is a lot more overtaking, a lot more of a buzz around Formula One, I'd say. And there's also one guy out front that's getting really annoying now.
Yeah, how
he keeps doing that.
He keeps doing that, doesn't he?
It would be all right if it was straight. It was like that, but it's like that for some reason. I don't know why that is.
Right. Yes! I guess you can relate to where he's at though, because if he wins this one, he's won 4 of the first 5, which is 2 years ago exactly where you were.
But the problem we have is that he doesn't, they have the resources to carry it on.
Now, obviously, it's exciting for you in Formula One at the moment. Clearly, for the fans, it's equally exciting as we make our way out here.
Obviously, most people here are Fernando fans because we're in Spain, they're very patriotic, but there are lots of Brits here and we do have some fans here.
So what do you reckon? Can this man bring home another world title? Of course he can.
Of course he can. Of course he can.
He's a legend. Absolute legend.
Happy birthday on it, please.
Wow, you don't want much, do you?
Well, here we are next to your car. It was interesting hearing you say in the last race we didn't bring the upgrades that we wanted to. Have the team made up for it this weekend? Is there a raft of upgrades for this car?
Yeah, there's the bits that we're missing in Turkey would have given us a good little chunk in the race, probably enough to really fight the Ferraris. We have that here, plus we have a lot of upgrades that we're going to have here in Barcelona.
And even if you're on form and the car's on form, it's now so difficult to call it right during the Grand Prix. I think last time out, everyone thought the perfect thing to do was save your tyres at the start of the race, you'll benefit at the end. And actually, it turned out that those that ruined their tyres early on and had to stop early were stronger at the end of the race. How do you, as a team and as a driver, go about second-guessing this new look Formula One?
Well, most people, I think, were going for a 3-stop at the last race, and that was our aim. So going to lap 13 with no stop was the way forward, we thought. Everyone else damaged their tyres around me, put on a lap 9, went to a 4-stop. And lucked into a strategy that worked for them.
So what's the key to a driver? Is it to make sure that you're adaptable and to read the race, or is it to make sure that the guys who are here on the pit wall, here in the garage, are doing a lot of thinking for you?
Yeah, I mean, for us to read the race is almost impossible because we don't know what people are doing on their tyres, we don't know when people are stopping, because it's not you go into the race with a strategy, you stick to it like it used to be. Because of obviously fuel and pit stops and what have you. Now it's completely different, so we don't see the information. The team needs to call it.
And whatever happens, it's proving to be exciting. The last 2 Grand Prix alone, we've seen you and Lewis going wheel to wheel, wing to wing.
Yeah.
Martin Whitmarsh has admitted it's been nerve-wracking for him on the pit wall. How aware are you as a driver that that's happening? Are you 10% more reserved because you don't want to wipe out your teammate? How does that play out?
I don't drive any different when I'm racing with my teammate.
You don't give it an extra inch of security?
No, I don't. In Malaysia, we're also very close in the race as well. So the last 3 races, we've been fighting on the circuit. It's good.
Quick thinking from Jenson Button, very quick indeed.
And in terms of the future, we've seen reports saying you'd like to end your days here. Other people saying that you're open to offers. We've seen Fernando Alonso sign up till 2016 now with Ferrari. What would you like to happen for the next few years?
For me, the most important thing is I want to be if I'm in Formula One, I want to be in a team that can win. You might not win every race, but you're there close and challenging, and that's what I want now in my career. I'm not just here to enjoy myself and be a team player. I come here wanting to win. I want to win. I'm competitive, and that's been in me since I was a kid at 8 years old, and that's not going to go away.
And of course, he's tasted success at this circuit as well, Jenson Button, who did very well here in 2009 on his way to being crowned the Formula One World Champion. So the cars are making their way to the grid. Jenson's car we'll see leaving the garage in just a couple of moments. David, how would you assess Jenson's start to this season? Solid, if a little unspectacular?
I think that's a very good way of putting it. I think he's had a solid start, made the most of the opportunities that have been there, but he's had some difficult time taking it wheel to wheel with Lewis, and he'll be looking to try and turn that around sooner rather than later.
And interestingly, we've seen Lewis and Jenson wheel to wheel every one of the last 3 races. It's been fantastic, and each time Lewis has come out on top.
Actually, I think Lewis has upped his game. I think Lewis has, you know, that little bit that he can see in the passing moves and in his raw speed. I think it's showing now, and I think Jensen is suffering as a result.
OK, David, we'll let you get to the commentary box because it's a long on walk from up here, and we'll make our way down and onto the grid, and we can start soaking up the atmosphere on the grid, and we can actually come through the gate right here as well, I think. OK, we just crossed over the pit lane. What we won't do is go through here. We'll go on a bit further down if we can. We'll have to make our way down the pit lane, which is always a bit difficult at this stage in the day. Eddie, plenty of Grand Prix you've been involved in running a team at this stage. Just tell us what kinds of things a team principal is up to at this point in the day.
Well, Jake, we invariably talk about the drivers because they look like as if they're the real actors in this game, but behind the scenes, team boss, he has so many things to do. We're now half an hour from the start of the race. However, the team boss will, by nature, he will have his time checking down. He probably starts at 1 o'clock. And therefore, he has an hour countdown where the strategies will be discussed. He would have each driver, would know what the other driver is doing. The driver who's quickest from the pole, or from the qualifying yesterday, will always have first shot at where he wants to stop for his tyres. So there's a lot of things that they will consider, including obviously the regulations. Today is a very warm, nice day, but if it was wet, of course, there's a completely different structure and a different countdown mechanism.
OK, now when we make our way onto the grid, Eddie, being totally truthful, particularly at a Grand Prix like this where the atmosphere is stunning and we can see the cars making their way around to the grid right now, does it not make you wish that you were back running a team again, involved in the cut and thrust of it all?
There is just a moment every Grand Prix you say, wow, I think I could do that as good as that, or maybe I think I'd like to do it again. And then reality sets in and you say, my God, how lucky am I to have survived that lot? And then you say to yourself, look, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, and you actually say, my word, these guys are going through torture, going through hell, but it is actually a buzz for them as well, and I wouldn't trade what I did for anything. It was absolutely, truthfully amazing.
I bet. I mean, it was a hell that you went through for a long time, because you started in 1991, gave Michael Schumacher his debut in 1991, and actually this was the year that this circuit started. What was the atmosphere like here right from the off?
Well, you know, it started very slowly because we had a real difficulty getting people to come to buy into the whole Spanish Grand Prix. By nature, this is a country absolutely surrounded by motorcycles, and MotoGP was the big thing here. Of course, Fernando Alonso changed all that. He probably saw that where he's from in the north, west of Spain, nevertheless, he got himself involved in the emergence of a lot of big stars. Poor Sevi, of course, which we lost, he was, for me, the start of it. Nadal, and now, of course, Alonso. It's remarkable how good Spanish people have come, whether it's football or whatever.
And Tim, just take a look, actually. Just pan the camera around, have a look behind us, have a look up at the grid, have a look at the commotion here on the grid. It's almost like being on a football pitch moments before a Champions League final. It's like being on the grass at Wimbledon moments before Nadal against Federer. It's such a privilege to stand this close to the action, isn't it?
But it's also very unique. Unique insofar as exactly just what you've said is what happens. And I mean, whoever would think about going out in Wembley and walking around with Man U and Barcelona this coming weekend? I mean, it's remarkable that we have this opportunity. And you're absolutely correct. It is a privilege. And, you know, we better soak it all up because it's not something that we'll always have.
No, absolutely. Well, one man who's loving his life in Formula One at the moment is Paul di Resta. We can see him here on his grid slot, and we'll have a word with him in just a couple of moments. But first, let's speak to Andy Stevenson, who's the team manager now. Andy, Eddie's been talking to me all weekend about the involvement that a team manager has at this stage in a Grand Prix weekend. Just give us an idea. You've got a great big folder there, and I'm sure you don't want to reveal everything in there live on the BBC, but what kind of stuff is in there? What are you up to at this stage of a race weekend?
In this folder's got every rule and regulation that we need to understand for the race. But more importantly, on the start procedure, there's lots of different things that can happen to cover all scenarios. If there's going to be a wet start, which obviously today we're not going to have to deal with. If there's a delayed start, we have to be prepared for that and make sure all the guys know exactly what's going on. I know the rules inside and out, but it's always good to have a second reference just to make sure, you know, when you're in a stressful situation.
Andy, you talked about stress there. Can't possibly believe the way you look with those sunglasses on that you're in remotely stressed. But come on, tell me what gives you that absolute rush, the adrenaline?
Obviously, I've done lots of Grand Prix. Been doing it for 21 years now. And most of the weekend, we're sort of pretty pretty chilled out and under control. But the bit that really gets me every single race is once the cars have formed up on the grid and the start light procedure has started. From then, everything comes to a big head. All the hard work that you've done over the weeks preceding the Grand Prix really comes to you, and you're hit with adrenaline. You have a huge rush of adrenaline, and then the race starts, and that's it. We're down to work. Every decision we make during the race counts for something. If we get it wrong, the race is destroyed. So that's when we start to get a bit nervous, but we love it.
I bet. I'm sure you're fine at the moment, though. You're an old hand at this. Andy and Eddie worked together at Jordan a long time ago, so I'm sure the adrenaline is fine at the moment. Let's have a quick word with Michael Schumacher, Eddie.
No, this actually is not Michael Schumacher. He looks too big. It's Peter Schmeichel, ladies and gentlemen.
I knew that, of course.
He thinks you're Michael Schumacher, but I'd had to tell him something different.
I wouldn't fit into those cars.
No, you wouldn't. We had a conversation.
Absolutely cannot
yesterday.
fit into any of those cars, no.
Peter, what I wanted to ask you, please, we saw when you were in goalkeeper part of the great Man United, and you used to shout and roar and issue all sorts of orders. You controlled that back four. Do you think you could have done the same in Formula One?
Well, this is a completely new experience for me. I'm miffed with the whole scenario. It's absolutely great. There's no comparison. Being on the grid here now is incredible. That's the equivalent of me taking you two guys in the goal with me. Well, we're here and the whole show. I'm really.
I'm not sure we could do much about your goalkeeping record if either of us were in that goal. But one thing, can I ask him this question? Because you used to absolutely charge up the field with about a minute to go if you're particularly losing a game, and a corner would come in and you go up and try and. Did you ever score by doing that?
Yes, I was lucky enough to score once in my life. It was all about creating havoc and confusion in the other goal mouth, and we did score 1 or 2 goals along the lines of me being out there, but I was lucky once.
A good memory. Well, nice to see you. Thanks very much, Peter. And how ironic that here we are in Barcelona and it's Man U Barca in the Champions League final in a few days' time. Thanks a lot, Peter, and let's just grab Paul now and have a quick word with him, and how apt that he's got his hands on a steering wheel, which is very helpful for us, because we were just talking to Andy actually about the processes that the team have to go through. Can you give us a quick insight into what you have to go through before the start of this Grand Prix, namely with that thing which is covered in buttons?
Yeah, well, obviously this year with the introduction of KERS, DRS, it's quite important, these formation laps and even the laps to the grid at this point, just to make sure all the systems are in place, you've got your KERS fully charged, and you understand exactly what you need to do. As for when we start the formation lap, that is the key. The key factor here is definitely tyre temperature, brake temp for the start, then the procedures of the KERS to make sure that you've got enough energy when you get your launch off the line with whatever procedure you go through, you've got enough to get down to the first corner. But however said that, the most important part is when you arrive at the grid, you get all these systems in place before the FIA lock the system. They can lock, as when you select first gear for the start, that is the system locked, and any changes after that will be forbidden until you cross the line after the first lap. So it's important you get these in and you make sure you know what procedures you want to go forward.
Paul, I think the people at home are kind of intrigued. They hear us talking about double clutches and various other things, and you release the first clutch, and then which you dump, of course, and then you actually release the real clutch. Maybe you could talk us through how that works in your mind and everything else that goes on going to the first corner.
So basically the double clutch system works like a normal handbrake uphill start. You have to preload the clutch to get a bit of engine torque, so when you let go of the handbrake the car launches. We can have a system that allows us to put the engine under a certain amount of demand, so when you let go of the first clutch you've got the bite you want for the grip level available. Then when you release the second one, that's when all the power and all the drives to the back wheels, and then your wheel spin limited and how much throttle you want to use. It is a complicated system, but all the guys have various settings and clutch demands that we can go through, and the start of the formation lap is quite important to get the grip level you need to for the next lap.
Incredible. 15 minutes at the start of the race, and here we are with a man who's about to gun down there at up to 200 miles an hour using this thing to keep the car in the right place on the track. Just show this to the people at home and give us an idea, because this is your reserve steering wheel, of the amount of things that you have to carry out during a race with this.
Yeah, I'll go through quickly. I mean, it's pretty basic. Neutral, it's a pit confirm when they call me to the pitch during the race. Oil button. Overtake is if we're in an engine map and we want a little bit more power. We have the pit limiter, talk to the team. Wing button, this is for the DRS. We have RPM switches and various different diff settings to to ease me and let the car set up during the race if I have any problems.
Amazing. He says it's nice and simple at 200 miles an hour. I imagine it's only simple to a Formula One racing driver. Paul, very best of luck today. I know you've got a great tyre strategy for this race, so hopefully you can use those soft tyres wisely. And actually, they all have to put the tyres on the grid at a certain time, and what that means is it stops some teams from delaying putting on the tyres for the race to have a quick look around and see what everybody else is up to, because of course this is the only time during a weekend where the teams can have a look at everybody else's car close up. And talking of seeing cars close up, Mike, with your car, you're not used to seeing the Force India close up and the Saubers only just in front of you. Congratulations on yesterday.
Yeah, no, it was a good result. We needed a little bit of luck, but you make your own luck, and it's happening more and more often. So we're moving forward, and we didn't think we really got the most out of the update package. So there's a lot more to come, which we need to move up.
Mike, some people would say that you were grabbing on maybe a little bit of headlines and stuff, that in reality, come the first corner, status quo will return and that you will be back further. How important was it to use up those tyres in your view, and what was the balance of view?
Well, I think the bottom line is, qualifying is a show, and you're meant to go out and do your best, and we did. And, if Force India are a bit quicker than us, we can't race them from behind. We're not going to beat them from behind. We can only beat them from being in front. So, if we can hold on down to the first corner, then we can race. We can't do it from behind. Having said that, even if they do get past, I think with the tyre wear you're going to see, those that look after the tyre, we can still race the cars in front.
OK, Mike, very best of luck, and do send our best regards to Heikki. Wish him luck from us as well. And just to give you an idea of how close these cars are, you can see here Kamui Kobayashi's Sauber just a few feet away from Heikki Kovalainen's Lotus. And what's remarkable is Heikki is going to try and defend that position on the grid with no KERS button. And when we saw Mark Webber trying to do that a few races ago, Eddie, he was 5 places down within about 200 metres. That's going to be a tough start for Heikki there.
Bordering on impossible, Jake. It's such a long run down to the first corner. KERS is vital, particularly here. And anyone who doesn't have it, and some of the teams at the back just don't have it as natural, as standard, they're starting with a massive disadvantage.
Yeah, well, we're now making our way down towards Michael Schumacher, as ever being spoken to by the German media. So I think the trick is just maybe to stand alongside his Mercedes car for a few moments and talk about how he approaches this race, because Michael may be sitting 10th, but Eddie, he's used up one less set of soft tyres than those guys around him. Just explain how important that could be for Michael and Mercedes today.
Well, we've seen little pieces, glimmers of hope that maybe Michael could revert back to the former glory, and that was just absolutely typical of what Michael did yesterday by conserving, keeping the set of tyres. He's no idiot. He knows clearly that he needs all the tyres that he can get for this weekend. In fact, such is the difference between the soft and the hard that I think most teams will try and run exclusively on the soft, without the mandatory. Of course, they'll have to do one session on the hard, but the hard is such a different speed that they will do a lot more stops this race.
OK, you can see behind us just there, that car belongs to Pastor Maldonado. Congratulations to Pastor and congratulations to Williams. They've picked up their very best qualifying of this season so far. Now, I would love to go and grab a quick word with Jorge Lorenzo if he's available. Eddie, try and keep up with me if you can. Just a very quick word with Jorge, who is the current MotoGP World Champion. Jorge, thank you very much for joining us. Now, believe it or not, with your amazing celebrations on the bike in MotoGP, these guys aren't even allowed to give us donuts at the end of a win. What do you think about that?
Sorry?
These guys aren't even allowed to do donuts in their cars at the end of a win. What do you think of that? Because your celebrations are something special.
Yeah, Alonso some years ago made some celebrations. And Schumacher on the podium, he made the jump. I also made the jump. So yeah, 2 different worlds. Maybe motorcycle we are a little bit more poor than in Formula 1. But it's okay, it's interesting to see how it works this world.
People are comparing Rossi with Schumacher. In other words, at the end of their career, how do you see that? Do you see Rossi as being the dominant person that he used to be in motorcycle racing?
Well, I think Valentino have 9 world titles, but now the young riders are pushing so hard. But he's actually really, really strong. He's very complete rider. So for us, the young riders, it's very difficult to beat him.
OK, Jorge, thank you very much indeed. Look at that, world champions everywhere you look on the grid today. And what a great insight to hear from a driver who's about to race, to hear from someone who races in a equally exciting, if slightly different form of motorsport. And behind us, that huge, vast Spanish grandstand full of fans, all of them gearing up for today's Grand Prix. It's just so special to be here at a time like this. Now then, for the last couple of races, we've seen Sebastian Vettel versus Mark Webber on a lap comparison as far as their pole laps are concerned. So far, Sebastian's won all of them, but he didn't win yesterday's.
Red Bull owned the front row again in qualifying, but it's Mark Webber on pole position this time. Let's take a look at the 2.9-mile circuit with the two drivers side by side, two of the finest races in the world, synchronised driving into turns 1 and 2. Listen to this. Turn 3 at the top of the hill, a never-ending right-hander, 175 miles an hour on the exit, both using just a little bit of extra track on the outside, and into turn 4. Once again, as in Istanbul, it's Vettel on the right-hand side who takes more speed into the apex of the corner, and he's ahead. It's a short run to the downhill braking zone of the hairpin of turn 5. And Vettel gets a little greedy on the brakes, has to turn into the oversteer, never makes the apex of the corner. Mark Webber on the left-hand side, much tidier at this time. Heading towards the chicane of turns 7 and 8, 105 miles an hour, precision necessary with the new curbs on the right-hand side. Climbing the hill towards Campsa, turn 9, 155 miles an hour, supreme skills. Bringing the car to the right-hand side for heavy braking into the tight left of turn 10, down to just 75 miles an hour. Vettel's gone wider again on the right-hand side, a second small error in a slow corner. Turn 12, and this time it's Mark Webber who's getting a little wide through that bumpy corner, and Vettel gets on the throttle earlier, so he turns up into 13, ahead again. It's a 100-mile-an-hour apex, a short straight downhill into the chicane where Webber has often been better. And look, he's gained all the time back by taking more speed into this 60-mile-an-hour chicane. Now, Vettel on the right-hand side has not had the use of KERS on this lap. Webber on the left has. He uses it to drive to the line, and he's faster by 0.2 of a second. He starts from pole position.
I love those pole lap comparisons, to see the smallest of margins between pole and second on the grid. The atmosphere out there was something special, wasn't it?
Well, you know, there was just so many people, so much opportunity for us to actually chat to people and talk to people, and you just become confused because time rushes by so quickly, and of course they've got to get on with the race, but it was very exciting and I loved it.
Confused? Schumacher, it's an easy mistake to make. Let's have a quick word with Lee, because she is with Sebastian Vettel.
Well, Sebastian, you're starting from second today, which is unusual for you this season. How are you feeling?
Good.
Good?
Yeah.
Your cars weren't working yesterday. Do you have them today? It's a long run into turn 1.
Yeah, it is indeed, but we changed the batteries, charged them, so should be fine. I'm pretty confident it will work. Can't give you a guarantee, but I think it will work.
Will this race be won or lost in turn 1 or lap 1, or is it a long race ahead? Strategy counts for so much this season.
Yeah, it is indeed. If you look at the last races, a lot of things can happen, so definitely not in first corner and lap 1, 66 laps to go, and all the others are very keen, you know, to be at the top as well, so it will be a long and hard race.
Thank you.
And from the busyness of the grid to the silence and the sparsity of the paddock, it's very quiet here at the moment. Now, you're Sebastian Vettel, you've got question marks over your KERS at the moment. You're starting second on the dirty side of the grid. How would you feel?
Not very comfortable. This is a big ask, so we have to possibly see what is he going to do about this, because this is a tricky start for him, make no mistake.
Indeed, and once he makes his way round, one thing he's hoping is that he can make full use of the drag reduction system zone for this race. This is the longest DRS zone that we've seen so far. It means that as the cars come round what the drivers call the Mickey Mouse section at the end of the lap, if they're within 1 second of the car in front and they can use it when passing back markers or when fighting for position, they can open up their rear wing and they can carry less drag and they can overtake the car in front. So the fans are dressed up, the fans are looking good, the fans are ready for today's Grand Prix. Yesterday wasn't the end of the world for Sebastian Vettel, but for the first time this season the champion doesn't start at the front. The question is, can his rivals capitalise? Can anyone other than the pole sitter win in Spain? And can the Bulls be reined in? Well, the next 66 laps will give us the answers live in high definition on the BBC One HD channel. It's the 2011 Spanish Grand Prix.
The Bulls are about to be let loose in Barcelona. 4 races, 3 wins, 93 points. Can anyone stop Sebastian Vettel's Red Bull?